Hi everyone. For those of you who didn't tune in last week, my name's Josh and I'm a solicitor within the education group at Forbes Solicitors. I deal with all things employment law and HR within the education sector. So welcome to the second instalment of my tips for education providers during what has become known as Lockdown 3.0. As the government's advice to schools remains to work from home where possible, subject of course to exceptions for provision of education to vulnerable children and those of key workers. Many staff members are now working from home, either be that full-time or on a rota basis with other members of staff. Now, with that in mind, I wanted to highlight the importance of, during that time, communication lines with the impact of the pandemic taking its toll on mental health and well-being of everyone in any shape or form. Communication lines are very much likely to become strained. So it's important for school leaders to maintain lines of communication between leadership and staff members as frequently as possible. Thanks to the increased use of technology since the pandemic began, which seems now to be a long time ago, but it's only a year ago. It's now easier than ever to do this, be that either by Zoom, Teams, or even a simple telephone call. By putting in place regular catch-ups with your team members, you can significantly mitigate the risk that any issues that might crop up as part of people's now adopting to new methods of working can start to stagnate. So catching up with staff members, however informal that might be, might provide that member of staff with a much needed outlet for them to share ideas or iron out any issues that they might be facing, whether that be either at school or at home. Now, if those issues are left unaddressed, then in my view, there's a significant risk that they could become a formal problem, and mainly in the shape of a formal grievance being raised. Now, as much as most policies that I've seen provide for grievances to be dealt with informally as the first step, in my experience, once a matter has got to the stage of a formal grievance, it's unfortunately very difficult to then rectify that informally, because long and short of it is that staff member won't have it dealt with that way. And that is, they want to have a formal investigation, hearing, and outcome to have their concerns addressed formally. Equally, it's often the case that formal grievances go hand in hand with sickness absence, and I did touch upon that as a topic in last week's video. Given that it's so easy to set up catch-up calls now or team meetings, to make sure, it's important to make sure that leaders are doing this, not least to avoid the costs, time and resources of having to deal with a formal process, whether that's a grievance on its own or a grievance with some form of absence attached to it, particularly when those resources could be much better spent, particularly during these challenging times that we find ourselves in. So that's a short but sweet tip for this week. I hope you found this session useful. My contact details will be appearing on the screen shortly, so please do get in touch with me if you do require any support with any ongoing issues that you might be having at the moment. Also, if there's anything specific, any specific questions that you'd like to ask one of the team, do look out for our regular education Q&A sessions. These should appear on our e-bulletins that you should be signed up to as part of the email that comes round to you. If you're not getting any of those emails with those events on them, then please do get in touch with me and I can arrange for that to be sent out to you as soon as possible. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you all stay safe.